And we're live
Well, hello.
with Nikki M. Mascali Roarty,
The one and
which,
only.
well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of
The
course.
Weekender Files. I think this is,
Yeah,
I forget what number this is now.
it's been
I
a
kind of,
lot.
yeah, I kind of lumped it all into the whole thing that I'm doing. So I didn't number them separately, but whatever.
Whatever, it's all good.
I hope you're drinking.
Would I ever do anything weekender related without a goddamn drink in hand?
I didn't want to drink tonight. I did not want to drink. And I said, I have to because of what you just said. I mean,
Yes, the
so
memories that
cheers.
I do recall. Cheers to
Cheers.
you.
Yes. Well, it's great seeing you. I mean, it's unfortunately over the internet, but I have not seen you. Oh my
Since
gosh,
2012.
probably since 2012. Yeah, so it's been 9 years, right? Jesus,
Yeah,
wow, where does the
yeah.
time go? So Nikki was a member of the Weekender. She was an intern in 2005.
Yep, the oldest
She,
intern.
the oldest
I'm so
intern.
proud of that. I don't know why, but I'm so goddamn proud of that.
Hey, you know what? Take what you have and hold on to it.
Yeah.
And then she was hired full time in 2006.
Yep.
And then she was promoted to editor in
Yes, I was.
2011, right?
Yes, I
So,
was.
so Nikki had quite the career. I guess, I mean, you weren't one of the short timers like a lot of them were. You
Yeah,
were,
no.
including internship, you were a full 7 years. So that's great.
Yeah, I'm a long hauler. Like I stick with it.
I mean, if I had my way, I'd probably be there today. Like I'd probably still, be there. But things change, obviously for the better. And you're in a much better place now. And we're going to get into that. But what have you been up to? I mean, like I said, I have not seen you in
Yeah.
ages.
Yeah. Well, I moved when I left the Weekender. I moved to New York City in 2012 with my now husband, who I just celebrated my 11th anniversary with, together. I know. I remember when we first started dating, everybody was like, "What's going on? Oh my God, who is this? Who is this guy you're talking to?" And it was like such a scandal, but I
I feel
loved
like
it.
you kept it a secret,
We kind
kind
of
of.
did. Yeah, like we were kind of just like, I don't know, like we kind of like wanted to just keep it on the DL for a little while and just see how it was because we were both like kind of older and we both just kind of wanted to, make sure it was like a good thing and it was from day one. So we've been married for 2 years now and we have a dog and life's pretty good. All
Except right
things
now you have a
considered.
dog and they want to be outside in the
Yes,
2 feet of snow,
yes.
right?
Yeah, he had me up to my waist today in snow drifts and it was not fun.
What part of New York City are you in?
I'm so glad you asked because I love talking about it. I live on this, I know, bobble. There's going to be a lot of bobbling, I feel,
Yeah.
the deeper I get in my drink. But we live in this awesome place called Roosevelt Island. And it's this little island in the middle of New York City, literally in the East River between Manhattan and Queens. We moved here back in 2018 when my stepdaughter moved out to go to college, and she lives a mile away from us in Astoria. But we just love this place, and it's actually been the best place in the world to go through the pandemic because back in like the 1800s they made this island be where everybody kind of like people with smallpox and like criminals and whores and like all of these people kind of like came to this island and like crazy people. Like it was the first lunatic asylum, their words not mine, the first lunatic asylum in the state was on this island because they wanted to keep everybody like away from these crazies and these sickos and these just criminals and stuff. And it just turned residential in the 1970s. And we found out about it and we moved here. As soon as we saw like an apartment, we were like, oh my God, we have to live here. So
That's interesting.
yeah, it's got a lot of history. It's really cool. And there's a lot less people than like in regular neighborhoods in the city because it's not that easy to get to. So it's kind of like we could see the city, we're in the city, we're a minute from the city, but we're not in the like crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking a lot with people. I don't know when and if New York City bounces back. I mean, everyone says, New York City with their resilient, blah blah blah, but like there's just so many things about it. I mean, we're forced to have like started to learn and businesses started to, open up to the idea of remote work and
Yeah.
um I don't know, people are running scared.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like, luckily, there's been very few things over the years that I've thought like, oh, I'm in a blessed kind of industry, like, because journalism does suck on occasion, like there's a lot of layoffs, there's a lot of papers and sites dying and stuff. I've worked at several publications that closed and just kind of shuttered their doors and stuff, but this has been a really good time to be a journalist because we were able to just go remote. Like, you didn't have to be in an office, which is what I never want to be in an office. Like, I love being home. Like, I love it. Like, so this past year, I've been remote since March 11th of 2020. And it's just like, I love it because we still contact each other via Slack and all this stuff. But, I like being home. I'm a homebody. I'm old, so.
Yeah, I mean, I always thought that I'd like to work from home, but then I started working from home, and maybe if it was just me at home, it'd be one thing, but
You have a
my
little
wife was
kid,
work.
so.
Yeah, I have a 3-year-old now, and at the time he was 2, so it was just like trying to do work and make sure he didn't die was just like not
Right,
ideal.
yeah. No, I can imagine.
And like my wife was going to work every other day because she's a pharmacist in the
Right.
healthcare system, so she was still going to work at times. So like when she was home, it was kind of more manageable because we were both home. We were both able to kind of like
Right.
split the day, so to speak. But when it was just me by myself, it's like, oh boy.
I know, I can't imagine
Yeah.
little kids.
So
No.
plus I mean, I love the fact that we can work remotely, but I also I like going to an office.
Yeah.
I like the interaction between coworkers and clients and things like that. So I don't know.
Right.
You know, it's
I
just a
do
weird
miss
time.
like aspects of it like that. Like, I do, especially because like I know we'll get into this later, but just the camaraderie that I had with my coworkers. Just I loved that because we get along. Like, it was the first place since the Weekender that I felt like I was part of a family. Like, we really just have this great little group of people at this job, and we just like I love it, and I do miss them, but I not as much as I like being home.
Home is nice. I mean, I don't know what your commute looks like. You said you were a minute from the city, but and I know people were spending hours on
Oh yeah,
subways and
yeah,
traveling, and
yeah,
I can't imagine. My one friend, like this is years ago, he used to travel by train. I think like an hour and a half to and
yeah,
from, and I'm like, that's a lot of time. It's a lot of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Three
When
hours
I
a
lived,
day.
it's awful. Yeah, when we first moved here, we lived in Harlem for the first 6 years that we lived here, and Harlem's part of Manhattan, and I worked in Lower Manhattan, so I was literally in the same borough, and it would still be like an hour and a half commute because the trains were just rubbish. And here, the New York Post is literally 3 stops from where I live. So the commute got so much shorter and so much easier. And it wasn't like bad because it was seriously like 7 minutes door to door if the gods of transit were shining on me, which didn't happen often.
No,
But
never.
yeah.
But let's get to what we're here to talk about.
Yes.
The Weekender.
The Weekend.
You were, I mean, I've been talking to a lot of people, and we all share the same sense that it was a very special place.
Yes.
So you were an intern in 2005. Like, what led you, or what brought you as an intern to the Weekender in 05?
Well, I remember, like, now I was a little bit older than pretty much everyone on staff. So when I was in high school when The Weekender came out in like 93. So I remember reading it as like this kid that just was like, oh my God, this paper's so cool. Cause we never saw anything like that in Northeastern Pennsylvania. So like, I was so aware of The Weekender. I looked at The Weekender to do nights out and like, where are we going? Let's pick up The Weekender. So when I decided to go back to school, after like I had graduated from LCC and got a job that I hated for many, many years working at a call center. And I just decided to go back to school to be a writer. And I just had to get an internship. And I thought I would take the easy way out and go where one of my teachers was an editor. And he was like, no, I think you'd be a good fit at The Weekender. I want you to apply for The Weekender. And I'm like, I'm so old. Like, I'm not hip. I'm not young. Like, he's like, no, I think that you'd be really, really good there. And I did it. And I never really wanted to work for a newspaper because I just thought like in my head, I want to do magazines and things like that because I always had New York on my mind. Like that was always like, since I was 10 years old, I wanted to live here. And then I got the internship and I just fell in love with newspaper. Like I loved working in that shitty old building because it smelled like ink. I know it made everybody else sick. And every day I'd just walk in there and be like, I loved the smell of the ink and the paper because we were in the production building because, we were the redheaded stepchildren. So we were in this shitty building where they you could hear the presses running and stuff. And I loved that. So it made me it changed my life because it made me a newspaper person. And now I work at one of the biggest newspapers in the world. So it was a springboard for that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think again, the common theme with everybody, we've all, whether it's been, a year at the Weekender or 7 years or 9 years or whatever it might be, it has provided all of us a springboard, like you said, to bigger and better things, which, I guess that's what it's for. I mean, that's what everyone kind of used it as. I mean, outside of me, you, Rachel, I think we were probably the longest tenured, people outside, and then Mike and G,
definitely.
obviously.
I think I think the Weekender sprung from him.
Mike G created the Weekender. No one knows that. But no, so you were an intern. I mean, after you were done with your internship, were you like, I need to work here? Like, I hope one day that's a possibility.
Yeah. I was really, really brokenhearted when my internship ended. And I was really, really upset. Just because it was I had this taste of seeing my name in print and, doing something and just being finally being creative when I worked for so many years in a job that was not creative and was killing me. It was literally killing me because it was just such a horrible experience working at a telecom center. And, it just kind of worked out that when I still kind of stayed in touch with the editor, I think it was Alan at that point, and I just stayed in touch. I did some correspondent work when I could, but I was also working a 40-hour, full-time job. So I only could do it when I needed to. And then, there was an opening when Leslie left and I applied for it. And, luckily I was the one that was chosen. So I was really happy about that.
The rest is history. So wrap it up. We're done here.
Thanks for talking to you.
All right, see ya. What was that moment when you got the job? When you got, the official, hey, you're going to be the staff writer for the Weekender?
I started writing my resignation letter to my current job. I got the call and I was just typing it up, and I think I handed it in within less than 24 hours because I was just fuck you. So yeah. Yeah, I've not changed.
No, it's funny how I don't know if I've ever had a job where no, I should not say that I did. I was at a job for 6 months that I hated. But I think we've all had those, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've had quite a few since the Weekender, to be honest. Quite a good, there's been some really good ones, and then there's just been some horrible, just dulling ones.
Yeah. So you're full-time at the Weekender, you're staff writer. What were your expectations?
My expectations? Oh my goodness. I just wanted to write. I just wanted to cover everything. I wanted to be part of this scene that I had just always kind of looked to within my own personal life. Once I got to be in my early 20s and stuff, I always picked it up to be where are we going? Who's playing where? What's up, and just to see what's what. I loved reading people like Joe Student, who became, one of my biggest influences for a long time. I loved reading just the words of these people, and just having my name in print was just so exciting and just so great. So I just wanted to kind of just find my footing and see where it would take me. I did a lot of music over the years. I loved doing that. And I loved, when I first walked in, I knew that I wanted to do something with food. So I came from a restaurant family, and, within a little while, I don't remember how long it took to turn it around, but doing the food reviews and stuff was just always one of my favorite things. I love to eat. So it's just, that was really exciting to do.
I was definitely a beneficiary of that column.
Yes. I shared the wealth. I shared the wealth of the Amex card for sure.
So as a staff writer, and I touched on this with Mike Lello, who was an editor of yours at the Weekender at one point. He's very modest, and he's I said, what goes into finding the stories and writing the stories, because one thing that we had talked about was like, you guys put a lot of time in.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times when people read The Weekender, like, unfortunately, the columns, and I say unfortunately because every piece of it had its place, right?
Mhm.
But when it's you guys, you're putting your heart and soul every week into these stories and, doing the research and doing the interviews and yada, yada, yada. And then there's people who just pick it up to see like, oh, the look what you missed pictures, or like, going
Right.
to the back page and seeing the model and then closing it and going on their way. So, I saw the inside workings of it. So I knew the amount of work and effort that went into it. And when I asked Mike, like, those questions, he's like, well, people shouldn't, think about how much work goes into it. I mean, that's just, they should know. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But like, from an insider for you, like, what was it like? How did you find stories? How did you, think about what you were going to write about and all that kind of stuff?
Oh my gosh. A lot of stuff was just, I had done the agenda listings forever as an intern, which, it was just a listing of like all the things going on in the area. So like if something caught my eye, I'd be like, oh, this sounds really cool, or if there was a band coming that I thought like our readers would be interested in, because we did have a base, like, we did have a pretty set reader base, like we kind of knew what people were into. So when bands would come to town, I'd just be like, I think we could really, do something with this. People might be interested in reading this. It's not as easy as it is today, for sure, because we didn't even have a website for the first couple of years I was there. So like,
Right.
now you get a gauge, like you have the analytics and all that stuff to kind of tell what people are into. Where like back then we were just throwing shit at the wall, because
Right.
we weren't able to ever track, because you couldn't track specific stories. You could only track, this is how many papers were, like, this is what our circulation is. Like, it was just as a whole, The Weekender. It wasn't just like, oh, Mystery Mouth, or, this story on Rob Zombie or something like that, but stories just kind of, if I saw something interesting, it was like, I think I want to investigate a little bit more about this, like when we banned smoking indoors, like I remember what a shit show that was for the bar owners and for people who were smokers. I was a smoker, and it was like, what, like, this is affecting me, this is affecting us, this affected like a lot of people on our team. So it was like, what do we expect from this? What does the law mean? It was just, it was just stuff that was affecting just us as our own little universe, and then just looking beyond that and seeing, what else was out there.
Yeah, it's a good point about the not knowing. It's like advertising, right? Like, you don't know, how, if it's working, for a print ad, unless someone comes and says, I saw your ad in The Weekend, or
Right, like clip it out, bring it to me.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's interesting that you thought about that, and that we didn't have a really a gauge on what stories were more read than others, and was Mystery Mouth a popular feature? I'm sure it was, but yeah, that's interesting to think about.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, it just seems like, I don't know, in so many ways, it's just so much easier these days because everything is at our fingertips. Like you can look at how many hits this gets, how many views this gets, and know like which ones, what you talked about. And like, it's just kind of easy.
It's easy, but is it really
It's
though?
not, no, it's not, but it's easier to kind of use it as a tool, I guess.
Because I every episode, whether it's The Weekender stuff I'm doing or just other people, the internet, man, it's a
I
blessing
know,
and a
I know.
curse. It
I
really
know.
is.
It is. And you can't ever predict, and you can't predict anything. So
No,
you never know.
I'm not sure if you're into stocks or not. I'm not, but I mean that all that going on with the stock market, and that's crazy.
I am, like, Tom is very into this. He has been trying to talk to me. I became a writer because I'm horrible at math. And finally, I'm just like, if you don't shut the hell up about these goddamn stocks, like, I swear to God, like my whole family is into this, like the kids, like his parents, and like they're just all are talking about a stock. And I'm just like, oh my God, like I can't, like, and work, like we're very into it at the Post as well. Like we're covering it like nonstop. And I'm just like, I can't escape this. This is horrible. Shut up. But if it makes us money, hey, that's great. Like,
Yeah, right.
I'm like, I'm glad that he's smart enough to understand what's going on, but he tries to like explain it to me, and I'm just like, numbers, it's like beautiful mind, and I'm like,
Are there any stories that you covered and wrote that stick out to you as one of your favorites?
oh my God, there's so many. Like there's a lot more that I really don't remember. Like there are times where like I still keep in touch with Mike, and he'll be like, oh my God, do you remember when you talked to this person? I'm like, no. He's like, how do you not remember that? I'm like, I don't know. It's like, I have a horrible memory. But one of my favorite stories actually became a tattoo, my very first tattoo for me. I had talked to a homeless bookbinder named Stitch who came to, I forget the name of the art gallery, but it was like on the square. And he came and was like the artist in residence there for like a month. And they like kind of set him up in a place, and he had a dog, and I went and talked to him, and I took photos and videos of him like making these books from hand. Like he'd make his own paper, he'd make these books, and like I watched him bind this book together, and it was just absolutely amazing. And after the story ran, he sent me a thank you note on paper that he made with a quill that he made from like a bird feather that he found in the woods. And it just said at the bottom of it, like, you know, thank you so much for this great story. And at the bottom it said, may your quill never run dry. And that is now a big ass tattoo on the top of my back.
You have a tattoo?
I did get it tattooed.
When was that?
Oh my God, 2015. Yeah. Or
Okay.
2014 or 2015. Around. Yeah, no,
I don't see you as a tattoo person.
I know. I always wanted one, and I was always just chicken shit because I'm so deathly afraid of needles. And
you're afraid of most things, I think.
I am. Yeah. I was, you know, masks, guys and masks, like whatever. Yes, we'll get to that, I'm sure. Because that comes up every October.
Oh, I love it. Thank God for Facebook at that point.
I know. But yeah, that was one of the like stories that really, really stuck out to me because it was just such a great, like, I love books. I love paper. Like I said, I love the smell of paper. So just watching this guy make this book was just so amazing. And just seeing like this hard life that he had, and he still was creative. Like he still was able to find the drive to be creative, even though like he had nothing else. Like that's all that he had was this creativity. And so I have a quill and a feather on my back, and it says, may my quill never run dry. And I got it done at Mark's.
Shout out Mark's Tattooing.
Yeah. Yeah, back 100 years ago. Yeah.
What else? There's got to be more than that.
Oh my gosh.
You probably wrote like hundreds of stories.
Yeah, I know. And I like was thinking about it like as I was listening to some of the podcasts, and I was like, oh my God, like he's going to ask me like all these questions and I don't remember like anything. But I mean, I loved, you know, I was such an 80s kid. So talking to Bret Michaels before he became like a total scumbag was a really like a big highlight of my life up until that point. I loved being able to interview him. And one of the other ones I'm really, really proud of too was when, and it pissed so many people off, was when we talked about NEPA attitudes. And we did a story just because everyone was so angry and just like, and I talked to like a sociologist of like, why is everyone so mad here? And like, what is this? And I got so much hate mail for that. So much hate mail. And the people that I spoke to got hate mail for that. And it was a really like big deal that like a lot of people just picked that paper up and were pissed that like I had the audacity to say that.
You're proving the point.
I know, that's exactly what I said. Like, that's exactly like, and I just like, and I would respond to some emails and just be like, this is exactly what this story was about. So I'm right, you're wrong.
And how long would something like that take? Because I mean, I was, you know, to a degree blind to that kind of stuff because I was busy on the ad side of things. So like you guys would write the stories, but I mean, obviously, you know, you don't do that. I mean, the Weekend are printed once a week, every Wednesday. So like, I'm sure you can't get an entire story when you're, you know, calling up, you know, psychologists and things like that. How long would that take?
I mean, stories like that, sometimes it was instantaneous. Sometimes it was like, you know, you had to reach out to a couple people because people were like, I don't know what this paper is. Like we had nothing really to show for it because we didn't have a website that they could click on and stuff like that. So, you know, sometimes a story could take like I remember doing the radio, like I did a story, a huge story like on like the decline of radio and like at that time because radio kind of was having a decline, and then but it was changing in different ways because we were getting new stations and things like that. So like I really dove into speaking to so many radio stations in the area, and like that story took like a month because I had to go to different people, and then like if I went to like Rock 107, it led somewhere else to like someone else that I needed to speak to for that. And then I had to talk to professors about media and things like that. So, I mean, some stories took like months to work on. Like, you know, that radio story was one of the longest stories I think I ever had like in the works. But, you know, sometimes it could just be like one phone call and you're done for a story, like especially if it's like a band, you know, a band story is usually just like one phone call. But like bigger things could be a week, a month, especially transcribing, which is awful, which is such an awful task.
And is that just listening to yourself talk over and
I
over
hate
again?
it. Yeah. Yeah. I hate it. I hate listening to myself.
I, I'm the same way, and I actually listen to all my podcasts, and it's not because I want to hear myself speak. It's because I'm so difficult on myself. I listen to it. I'm like, oh, I mumbled that word, or
Yeah.
I said this word wrong, or I used this word to describe that, and that's not correct.
Yeah.
Beat myself up over it.
Yeah, Tom and I did our own podcast for a couple years,
You
and
did,
we
yes.
did, yes. We loved it. I love doing it, but it was a lot of work. As you know, it's a lot of work, and we would cut out like dead air and like stuff like that. So it was a lot of work for Tom because
Right.
I don't get involved in like the production stuff, but I would have to re-listen to it to like get quotes so we could share them on social media, like
Right.
funny lines and stuff. And it was like, I hate this. I hate doing this.
Yeah, I do that too for the same reason. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of time, and I don't edit these because two reasons. I like the rawness of it,
Yeah.
and two, and the most important, I don't have the ability to edit.
Yeah, Tom was very technical. He was really like he's very into like all that stuff, and I'm just like, oh my god. But I would forget because because when we were doing it, there wasn't a Zoom, there wasn't really like there wasn't what we're doing right now. So like it was just a phone call that we recorded, so he had to like I would always forget that you couldn't see me. Like he could see me and I would be conversing with him and like I'd shake my head and he'd be like, you have to answer the question because they can't see you.
Right. Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would love to have like a studio and have like guests in the same room. But this is also super convenient because a lot of the weekender, people that I'm talking to are no longer in northeastern Pennsylvania. So
Yeah.
this has to work.
Yeah, no,
It
and I mean
works.
this is the world now.
I
This
know
is where we are.
it was the perfect time to start it because people are a little more forgiving with bad audio now these
Yeah,
days.
thank the TikTok and shit for that.
TikTok. Are you on TikTok?
No, my God, no. I stopped at I think I peaked at Instagram. Like that was it for me.
That was the end of
And
social
that was the
media.
end. That was the end. I'm like, this is as far as I'm going.
I peaked at Instagram. Oh man. Did you ever think that you'd be part of a staff that was as close as we all were?
No. I mean, my previous job before the Weekender, we had I had friends, but I worked in a department that was just very cutthroat, and we kind of because we all had quotas, and so it was like you have to try to outdo the person next to you and shit like that. But this just was a family from the get-go, from the second from the second that I started. We just kind of you just took new people into the fold and just that's what it was. And we fought like cats and dogs, but it was great.
We did. And I always say that we were like brothers and sisters.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think I fought with my real brother as much as I fought with my Weekender brothers and sisters.
You know what though? It's funny because it was so insignificant. Like I don't even remember I don't remember any of the fights that we had.
Yeah, you just remember that we did.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I mean, you spend 40 hours a week with these people, and you're obviously you have
No. It wasn't just 40 hours a week. It was 40 hours a week, and we would be like, "I hate you. I'll see you tomorrow." And then you'd go home and you'd get a text and be like, "We're going to Hops. We're going to Sunirnis's," and it's like, "Okay, I'll see you in 10 minutes."
It was also we also long Tuesdays too, so it was probably closer to 45, 50 hours a week.
Yeah, if we were lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we always buried the hatchet, and it was never like world ending that when we had those fights.
Yeah. It was just we'd get heated because we were just tired and overworked.
Yeah.
Overworked and underpaid.
I wish I could remember one fight.
Oh my God. I do remember a couple, just me yelling at everyone for
being too loud.
Shutting up. Yes. Yeah. Cause I'd be on a call interviewing people and do you remember the
yes,
snap my fingers and I'd be Like that was really annoying. Like, so I do remember that very much.
Yeah, I do remember that now that you say it. Yeah.
So it'd be like, or I'm trying to transcribe and I'm listening to the same line like over and over, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go home and transcribe today.
Well, it's funny too, because like, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I mean, we were at an age too where like I feel that we would not do it more because you got like mad at us, but like, kind of more.
It didn't stop as fast.
Right. Like that's what you do when like, when you have a brother or sister.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
antagonize them.
Yeah, and like I would be mad, and then I'd be like, okay,
Ooh.
yeah, and then I'd get over it, and then I'd yell at you the next phone call that I had. So.
Right. I'm sure there was fights during Reader's Choice.
Oh my
because
God, probably.
For those of you who don't know, we literally would count every single ballot. There was no funny business there. And some people would pull their weight and others would not.
Yes.
We won't mention any names.
No, we will not.
But, that was always one of those things. It's like, we're all like, doing what we had to do, and others were just kind of.
I hated Reader's Choice. I hated it everybody did. We all did. The party, like, and that's why we all got, annihilated at every freaking party, because it was just like, yes, it's over for another year. But it was awesome to like recognize, like our readers and like, our like the people in the area. But it was a lot of work that now would probably be a hell of a lot easier.
Yeah, I mean, even like towards the time where I was there as the GM, we did more online stuff, but we still at that, it was like 2013, 2012 or whatever, we still had like print and online because like we were just it's so hard to like get people to do just online.
Yeah,
because it was crazy how many people would fill out those papers.
Oh my gosh, I know. And how many people would just like, they wanted it so bad that they would cheat, like the cheaters. Like, remember just getting like the envelopes and it was just the same writing, the same handwriting. And it was like, all they would change was like the name of the address and stuff.
Yeah. And we'd have to, those I think we threw out. Like,
we counted like one and we're just like, nope.
But yeah,
I think it was impressive. Like the way that the people tried to do that. It kind of made us feel good. Yeah. Like it meant something to them that like something from us meant something to them. That was a pretty good feeling.
Yeah. So you mentioned, I think Alan was your editor the first year or so, but then he stepped down.
Yeah.
And Mike Lillo became editor, I think 2007, I want to say.
Yeah. Something like that.
So like a year into your employment. Did you know Mike prior to him being editor?
No, I knew of him because he was friends with Joe Student and Christy and Alan and stuff. So like they had said he's going to be like a really good choice and you'll get along with him and stuff like that. But I met him on day one. That was the first time, or maybe like probably we had an event beforehand that like he maybe popped in at, but like I met him when he started.
Were you nervous at all having a new boss?
Of course, like you're always kind of just like, well, what is this going to be? But I was excited because I loved my job. Like I was just like, I don't like, I love my job. I knew what I was doing and like I was going to have to show him the ropes. So I was, it didn't really matter to me that much.
I'm going to teach you, motherfucker.
Yeah, exactly. This is how I do it and this is how you're going to do it.
This is how it's done. No, Mike was great though. And I feel like you guys kind of really hit it off. I know you guys started doing weekly dose videos.
Yeah.
And they were funny. And there's still some of those online. So the Weekender Dose was, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but it was essentially Mike and Nikki would have a video component of what was coming up in the next edition of the Weekender. And what was going on, like certain stories and things like that. And I still think, and I'll say this to this day, I still think we were ahead of our time as far as, that kind of component to the print edition.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were, because we, it was right around when we kind of got started on Facebook. Because I get the, every once in a while I'll get the like, memories on Facebook, and it's like a weekly dose. And I'm like, oh my God, look at little Nikki. Like, look at that. But yeah, I mean, we're totally ahead of our curve, and like in so many different ways. But like this was really interesting because NEPA is so far behind on like in so many ways, you know.
Okay, so that was a little bit of a unfortunate technical difficulty. I love saying that. So I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
Yeah, so we were talking about
The weekly dose.
weekly dose and
Yeah, and
kind
party
of being,
favors.
yes, and kind of being ahead of our time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, definitely.
NEPA kind of being behind the times, as always.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it was just, we had so much fun doing them. And I kind of feel like, you know, people, I'm assuming people maybe watch them. Like I remember seeing like likes on Facebook for them and stuff, but like sometimes I just felt like we kind of did them for ourselves too, just to like do something different. You know, it was such a different like step. It was such a different direction for us, like going into like video and stuff. And I remember getting into some crazy little predicaments with my videos. Like when Steve locked me in my trunk of the bitch pod.
No, it's the bitch basket.
No, the bitch wait, I did have, oh my God, I didn't even have the bitch pod. Yeah, okay, so it was the bitch basket.
Oh, you
Yeah.
had a bitch pod after that?
I did have a bitch pod, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like a little Ford Focus hatchback, and I was just like, well, this is going to be called the bitch pod.
No, wait, no, you did have the Ford Focus after that.
Yeah, I think
Yes.
I did.
And
Yeah, because I got it when my Volkswagen like just kind of died.
me and Tiffany, we talked about the bitch basket.
Did you? Oh my God.
Yes. Thanks for listening.
No, I listened to like the first half hour and then I had to stop. So
thanks for reading.
Yeah.
That was always a fun joke. Thanks for reading.
Thanks for reading. That was always my answer to everything. Thanks for reading.
Yeah. What's going on this weekend? Oh, thanks for reading.
Oh, did you guys know this was coming? Yeah, thanks for reading.
I'd be like, Nikki, how much are the beers at Murray's on Thursday night? Thanks for reading.
Yeah, that worked. As if I had to buy my own beers. No, I'm just kidding. And Murray's, oh my God, let's pour one out for Murray's.
R.I.P. This is for you, Murray's.
I should be dead for all the times I went to Murray's.
Were you there for Christmas? No, not the Christmas party. Halloween party we had there?
Oh yeah. I was there for a couple of Halloween parties we had there. I remember looking down because remember I was a Perky Viking.
Yes.
Do you remember the Perky Viking and gold lame and Madonna boobs?
You know, so tonight, it was after dinner. I guess it was after dinner. My wife was making brownies. And they weren't even the good brownies. They were like she used.
God.
No, they were good, but like they weren't like, you know, the brownies you make because you're eating brownies and you want them to be unhealthy. They were like, I forget what she replaced what with, and it was just whatever. But she just said, "Hey, Alexa, play whatever."
I know, right? You always have to turn around and be like, "Did she hear me? Did she pick it up?"
and sure as shit, guess what was playing?
What?
An hour before this podcast. It was a Beyonce song.
To the left, everything you own in a box to the left.
I couldn't believe it. I'm like, is this really fucking playing right now?
Oh my God, Steve, that was Steve's and my song.
Oh, really?
Yes.
We won't talk about that. We'll skip that part.
But I was very annoying because that was like the one Beyonce song that I kind of really like just took like, I was like, that was like the only like Beyonce song I really, really liked. So I would sing it in the office all the time for those listening at home.
I just remember that. Yeah.
And I would just like start it off going to the left, to the left.
And none of us can sing. Maybe Steve could.
No. Yeah. I mean, I would hope Steve could. Oh my God. Good times.
Oh man. It was such a great place. Like I said before, if I could be there forever, I would. But I mean, things happen, things change,
right.
and, you know, people move on. But
Yeah.
Okay, so intern, staff writer. Then in 2011, you were promoted to editor. So
Yeah.
tell us about that.
That was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing experience to just, because I did work my ass off, every week. Like I loved the paper. I lived and breathed the Weekender, like my personal life was all about the Weekender. All of our personal lives were about the Weekender, and it was such an amazing thing and scary thing to now be in charge of this entity that so many people in Northeastern Pennsylvania were like looked to as their Bible of what to do. Like we were the thing that people picked up to go see what was going on and what we were writing about and what was coming to town and stuff. So like it was scary as hell to like take on that editor role, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, you must have loved it. You loved it so much you left me after a year.
Blame that on my now husband.
Because I got promoted to GM in 2012, and then you left, I think,
like a couple weeks later. Yeah, it
a
was just
month
a couple
later.
weeks. Yeah. It just, we had always wanted to move to the city, and Tom got here first, and it was like within 2 weeks it just kind of happened. And I was of course sad to leave, but at the same time, I started when I was 27 as an intern, and I think I left when I was 34, 35. And like at that point it was like I got to do something different.
Right.
I gotta see what else I can do with my career, because at the time there was like I didn't want to go into regular news. I loved doing arts and entertainment and stuff, but I love just that aspect of like this alt weekly, this just entertainment. I love doing that. And then I ended up getting a job in a finance publication, which was just so.
So did you leave because Tom was there?
Well, he got it. Like we had been at that point, we had been together a couple of years, and he moved. Like, so we were doing a long distance relationship because he got a job at Pfizer in New Jersey. So we were kind of living apart for like a year. And, we both were just like, that was a step for us. Like we knew that New York City was our end game. Like we had decided very early on that like we both had the same goal, because he grew up in New York. He worked in the city as, in his younger years, and he always wanted to get back there. And we were both very much on the same page of that. So it was always a plan, it was always the plan for us to be in the city. So when he got the job here, it was like, okay, now like there's a connection in the city. There's even more reason to kind of like hunt for it, because I had interviews in the city over the years, the last couple of years that I was at the Weekender, just trying to get my feet wet and see, what kind of bites I could get being a small town kid trying to make it in the big city, but it just kind of worked out, like the timing. As soon as he got his new job, I kind of found somebody that wanted to hire me. So it kind of just worked out the timing wise. It was weird.
And it was a finance newspaper or magazine?
It was like a finance trade publication, and I fondly recall it only because it was the job that got me to New York City. I lasted there about a year, and like it was like a mutual thing where we both kind of left, because like I said earlier in this podcast, math is not my strong suit. So finance was kind of like a weird jump for me, but it was also something different, because at that time I had been working at the Weekender for over 6 years, talking the same, like after a while, like I love talking to bands, but at the end of the day, it's still just like everyone kind of makes music the same way. Like the sausage is getting made the same way. Like the stories were different because the bands or the people I was talking to was different, but like there just became like the sameness over the years, and
Right.
that happens when you're at a job for a long time. So it just was like I wanted to try something else to see see where the road was going to take me, and finance definitely was not it. But
so you're there for a year. Where did you go after that?
After that, I worked for a publication, like a artsy entertainment kind of publication that went defunct a year or so after I started. And then I worked at Facebook for a year. And
at Facebook?
Yeah. I was a journalist on their trending news team back when they still had like the news in the right-hand rail and stuff. And
how do you work for Facebook? What is that's
yeah, it was weird. It was it was a great experience. I mean, the company, it was a great experience in that it was my first foray into hard news, where I had written arts and entertainment, music, food, theater, like things like that. This was hard breaking news, bombings, shootings, things like that. And I just happened to make the jump to news right around the time of the 2015 walk up to the election. So it was a wonderful time to get into news for sure. Yeah, I picked a real good time to quit sniffing glue, that's for sure.
Did you hang out with Zuckerberg?
No, we were not really, we were like, I went from being like the redheaded stepchildren of the Times leader to being like a redheaded stepchildren of Facebook, because we were kind of like these, we were just kind of like off on the side. So we weren't we were part of it, but we weren't part of it. So it was like, we got the free food in the cafeteria, which was awesome. We got to work in like the funky office, which was great. But it just, we weren't too much like involved in like the actual Facebook-ness of it. But I got to put it on my resume, so that was great.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I mean, yeah, I worked for Facebook.
Yeah, it was an interesting year. I mean, it was busy. It was insane, because like it was just such a way to like jump into the fire of like actual hard news. So, and then I was just like, this is kind of what I love. I love the just like the nonstop. It never stops. Like it just never ever stops. And especially then, because as like it's a dumpster fire all the time now. So like it was really my first foray into just nonstop news. And it was really interesting to just like, it's really where I learned about politics. It's where I learned about the world, like what was going on in the world. And like, I never had that before. Like I never was interested in that, because I was always just covering arts and entertainment. So it really like helped me be a better informed person.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
And that was for a year?
Yeah, for a year. And then my contract ended, and then I started working at Metro, which was like a local publication, Metro New York. They had outlets in Philly and Boston, which I sometimes got words into as well, because we kind of were a New York-based team that did kind of Boston and New York as well. So I worked there for 2.5 years.
Okay.
So that was great. Like I got to cover, because after a while I realized I wanted to cover New York City. Like New York City was where I always wanted to be. And I always wanted to tell the stories of New Yorkers in New York City. And this was a really, really, I loved this job. Like just, I threw myself into it, and I got to do some really, really cool stuff and go to like some really cool places, because history was always like a big thing of mine. So I got to like go on these tours that like people couldn't get onto, like secret stuff of New York and everything. So it was really exciting to kind of be able to like tell stories of my new hometown like that. Like I did with The Weekender, but it was like, New York.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. 2.5 years go by. Then what?
After that, I left Metro because I kind of saw that things were going to be changing. Like you kind of just get that sense that like a storm is coming. And I kind of just started looking for a new job, and I jumped into real estate writing because I loved doing some real estate stuff for Metro. And I worked in a real estate publication for a while, and I really, really liked doing that, getting into like learning how to read a listing and learning how like the nitty gritty of, because renting here is just like you have to know so many things to just understand like the real estate market here. And it really informed me. But after a while I was like, I don't know, I'm still just not like, I couldn't find that right fit. You know what I mean? Like I kept trying these things on like Goldilocks, and then I just was like, I can't, like, I'm not happy. It's not me. Like, I'm not myself when I'm working here. So I just decided to freelance for a little while. And then the New York Post kind of opened up, and that's where I've been since August of 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you weren't there long before the pandemic hit.
Yeah. And like the funny thing, when I was an intern at The Weekender, every Sunday I would come into the office to do the agenda listings, like going through all the mail, because like everybody mailed their listings in and I'd have to type them up and stuff. And every Sunday before I'd get to the office, I would stop at the Turkey Hill down the street and I would get a snack, and I would get a Turkey Hill iced tea, and I'd get a New York Post, because the Sunday New York Post is like the biggest paper of the week. And it just had like all of this, it just had all of this stuff. And I would just pick it up because I just loved reading it. Like I loved reading the New York Post. So it was a really huge moment for me to get this job at this paper that I read when I was just starting out of my career. You know, every Sunday I would pick up this massive paper and read it after I would finish my internship at the Weekender, and just be like, someday I want to work at a publication like this in New York City. And I remember telling that when I had my interview. I remember like telling that to the two editors that ended up hiring me. And I was just like, this was always like the end game for me. This was always like a dream that like I never even dared to dream, but I did. So it was just funny that like it kind of came full circle like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do you do there?
I am a digital news editor. I worked on the night shift, so I'm there for all the good fun that happens after dark.
Oh boy.
Yeah, which is, you know, it's crazy. It's so busy, you know, because we cover New York and we cover the world, you know, and we cover a lot of politics. But it's just, you know, I edit stories, I manage the homepage. So like, you know, putting headlines on things, and, you know, making sure, like keeping track of traffic. So like I get to choose what story goes in like the big main section of the homepage, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting.
So if you had your way, this would be it for you. This is forever.
I would hope so. I mean, I would hope so, you know, knock on wood, because
Right.
I'm always wary that I'm from NEPA, so there's always a second shoe hanging somewhere. You know, you're raised to expect that second shoe. But I truly love this job. I love the people that I work with. Like I said, you know, we're a big family. I'm the only woman on the night shift team. So I've got a bunch of brothers that I just work with every night. And I haven't had this camaraderie since the Weekender. And I remember, because Mike was at the Post when I started, and we both just kind of talked about just how it felt like just this camaraderie that we never had since the Weekender. And it was really interesting just to kind of have like these people that came from all over, you know, like they came from everywhere, and we just you just have that unit of people that you just kind of gel with.
Yeah. That's really great. I mean, I'm happy for you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. That's awesome. Now, would you say that the Weekender prepared you for the role you have now?
I definitely would in many ways. I mean, you know, it's a totally different type of job and situation, you know, just technically and coverage wise, and like there's a
Sure.
lot more than, you know, there's a lot of moving parts to what, you know, we're doing, where, you know, with the website and, you know, social media and stuff like that. But I mean, it definitely prepared me. I mean, the office politics of the Weekender were definitely like, that was a good kind of getting your feet wet into how certain things, and not that the Post is like that, but like other jobs have been like that, where like you have to kind of learn the game of the office to kind of, I don't know, just to like, you kind of have to just like, there's more than just the work that you have to do. Like you have to show up at other things and stuff like that. And we're not like that at the Post, which is really good.
Yeah. Mike mentioned that too. Like there was so much involved outside of your 9-to-5 job.
Yeah.
At the Weekender, which I mean, I think that's what made it work too.
Right. Sure.
That's what made us all so close, I think, too. And also
Yeah.
hate each other at the same time.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think
sick and tired of seeing you.
I know. We were just like, because we were constantly together, which was great, especially because like I never really my brother had been like just moved like kind of when I started at the Weekender, and he and I had always like kind of run around town together and everything. So it was like the Weekender became like that brother that I missed when he moved away. And then like I think it just like I got a little older. I got like, because again, I was like 5-6 years older than everybody. So I was partying like well past the time when I should kind of like be partying, and it was just kind of, I was getting tired, you know what I mean? Like like just
But you look so
metaphorically.
young. I mean,
Thank you.
you're only as young, or you're only as old as
No, I know that. I know
yeah.
that. But it was just part of me was just kind of like, I don't want to be going out all the time.
Yeah.
And I want to be doing other things. And, I had been single for like a really long time. So when Tom and I got together, it was just like, this is like, I'm ready to be an adult, I think.
Right.
Like, and don't get me wrong. Like, I mean, we had a lot of party nights with him too. So it was like,
Oh, but there were the beach house, which was
oh my God, the beach
Tiffany's
house.
place with the two of her friends,
Oh
Amanda
yeah.
and she's gonna kill Amy.
Amy, yeah. A lot of
Um,
parties, a lot of pajama parties at the beach house for sure.
but I remember there was times, I think it was 2000. Well, you started in 06, so it must have been 06. I think I came to your apartment or house, whatever it was, one time or twice, maybe three times. I forget. We hung out there.
Yeah. We watched like Starsky and Hutch or something, I think.
Yeah.
We used to watch just like dumb, funny movies.
Yeah.
And my family owes you such a debt because you introduced us to Always Sunny. Well, you introduced me, and then I introduced my family to Always Sunny, and it's still like we still watch it like at night. It's what I fall asleep to. Like it's been my favorite show from the moment that you introduced me to it.
It's ridiculous.
It's
I think they're just renewed for like 4 more seasons.
I know. And the last season was so good, but like it's my favorite show on this goddamn earth, and I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, good times.
Yeah, I mean, The Weekender was just such a outside of what we did, it just the friendships we made, and the fights we had, and just, I mean, that was such a great time and of my life. And maybe I can't speak for everyone, but it just, I fucking loved it, man. Like
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up there, and
Yeah,
I think all
yeah.
of us kind of did it to a degree. Maybe not you because you were so old, but I'm
Yeah, but I
kidding.
was young at heart. I
I'm
mean,
kidding. Yeah,
no, I don't care.
you look better than all of us. So it's okay.
I was well pickled for, since my 20s. I've been very well pickled.
Yeah, it just, I don't know. It just, I I hope that people like love it as much. I mean, no one's gonna love it as much as we did, but like I feel, and there's people who reach out to me now and say like, I love what you're doing. Like, I wasn't in the scene, so to speak, when The Weekender was in its heyday, but
Right.
they've read it and they were familiar with it. Like, so they're actually enjoying kind of like watching or hearing about some of the behind the
That's
scenes stuff.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
it
It
makes
just,
it seem like, because I kind of left NEPA and, I don't get back that often. And, I haven't been home in a year because of the pandemic, because my parents are, ailing, and Tom has some health conditions that make him high risk. So I haven't seen my family in, over a year now. And hearing that The Weekender kind of still kind of is a word that people know and that people remember the hard work that we did, the blood, sweat, and tears that we put into that paper. Like that's a really nice thing to hear.
yeah.
Even though I've been gone a long time, like that's a really good thing to hear.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping the pandemic ends sooner or later because everyone keeps saying like we gotta do like a real reunion, and I keep
That would
saying,
be awesome.
I keep thinking like that would probably be better than my high school reunion for sure, without a
Yeah.
doubt. Without a doubt. I mean,
Yeah, because you know us, like, and I don't think, and just listening to the ones that I've listened to, like, none of us have that changed all that much. Like, I'm still Nikki. I just have gotten a little older. I've gotten a little more mature and like less abrasive, maybe, I hope. I don't know. But it's just we're all the same people. Like we're just, like it's that sibling thing. Like my brother and I don't get to see each other that often, but when we're together, it's exactly the same as it's always been. And I think that that's how we would be.
yeah.
I mean, we got married in the city, and we had, it was kind of like we eloped, and then we had like a family thing a couple months later, and we were going to do this, like, and I mean, Tiffany still is like, when, like, we need to do this. Because I said we were going to have just like a party somewhere, just like nothing major, not like a big celebration or anything, but just like get together with people and drink and just kind of hang out. And we kind of unfortunately didn't get to do that because
Yeah.
the world is a dumpster fire.
I hope it's getting better. I don't know that
Yeah.
it is, but it kind of has to, I
Yeah,
think.
I mean, I hope so. I'm sick of seeing people being stupid because we hold the keys to the kingdom, you know, like we as individuals have to wear our masks and we have to do the right thing for just a little while. We just have to do it for a little while. And I think, you know, I have a lot of thoughts on this. I have like so many thoughts, and I don't want to turn this into like my pandemic horror that lives in my head all the time.
Right.
You know, but like I remember just, you know, we had started reporting on it like in January, and I was like, something is up with this. And like I started seeing more stories and things, and I'm like warning my parents, like, you guys got to be careful. You guys got to stop going out and you got to stop doing things, like, because this is going to come here and it's going to like happen, you know. And then it sure as hell did, and it's been scary ever since.
Yeah, it's been a wild time,
Yeah. Yeah, like
to
whoever
say
thought
the
like we'd be
least.
living through like a fucking movie like this.
But yeah, I mean, how many movies have there been that like
Yeah.
it's
That were
crazy.
warning, like, get the Hollywood guys in charge, maybe they'll fix it. But
Oh
like
God.
you know, like you're asking all of us, you know, kind of like our moments of the weekender and stuff. Like what about you? Like what is the thing that sticks out the most from your time at the weekender?
Oh boy.
I know,
There's
right?
so many. There really it just I mean, I remember being an intern, and just that experience alone was like I remember saying to myself, one day I want to be the general manager of this newspaper.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. I and I was 21 years old, so I was like, it's something you say, like, I don't think
Yeah.
I mean, you say it like maybe it's a pipe dream or whatever it might be. Like, I was an intern, so I didn't know, like, I still had a full year of college, I think, ahead of me. Yeah, it was '04, and I finished in '05. So, like, I mean, anything can happen in that time, right?
Yeah.
And um, and a lot did happen to me in that
Yeah.
year. My father passed away, and my best friend's dad, it was like a second father to me, passed away. Like, two of my grandmothers passed away.
Jesus.
Yeah, so within a year, like, it was actually 8 months. Like, I just lost like the most important people in my life.
Right, yeah.
So a lot happens, right? And so, like, I said that, just, I guess, kind of saying it, and it's one of those things. I remember I finished college. I applied for a job at the Weekender in sales. Janelle Price, now Janelle Osborne, actually
Mhm.
got the job over me, which, I think was the right move, and I think she did a great job, and she was better at it than I would have been. But what happened like 2 months later, Christina Dugan, uh, who was my who was my, like, kind of boss when I was an intern,
Right.
she left, and I was kind of like the perfect fit. I'd done the
Right.
job before, and that's how it's all started. And I went from, you know, marketing and sales associate to sales to director of sales to general manager.
Yeah.
Um, and it just, I don't know, man, it was, I mean, I met my wife at the Weekender. You met your husband at the Weekender.
Yeah.
Um, I just met some of the greatest people that
Yeah.
I don't get to talk to that often these days, just because, we're all busy, we're
Right.
married and
Sure. Yeah.
kids and jobs and all that kind of shit. But, I mean, one thing that stands out, I mean, there's so many that
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
cherish to this day. And that's why I started doing this, was because, like, a, I'm very nostalgic. Like, I'm very sentimental, and I just kind of wanted to have this, like, documented.
Right. Yeah.
And like, my memory started, being filled with like Blippy and dinosaurs and things like that. So all my old memories of, like, good times are being flushed out to make to have all these things. And um so I wanted this documentation of just, like,
Yeah.
kind of revisit the old times. And
No, I think it's great. I really do, because I think like it was such a huge part of our life. And, you know, for many of us, it did inform, you know, the rest. I mean, this is where I started my career. It was
yeah.
my first writing job. And, it was my first editor role, and it really did change my life in a way that I never even expected or even dared to dream about, because I wasn't, like I always had pipe dreams of moving to New York, but I never thought that it would actually happen. I never thought that, like, whatever, I just always thought that I was just going to live the life that I was living, and that was that, so it was just like, it just kind of was like, wow, like this is something that like I can do, and I started it here.
Yeah, I mean, thanks Jim McDonald for creating it.
I did not even ever work with him. I think I met him maybe once in my life. So yeah, he was gone by the time I got there, but it was, we had some good people. We had some really good people that we worked with, and that, like, like you said, there's people that, I still talk to. There's some people that I don't, and that's okay too. But
yeah,
good
absolutely.
Memories. And just listening to some of them, it's just like, oh my God, I forgot these things happened because I have a really bad memory. And it was like, oh my God, now I remember these things.
Favorite weekender moment?
Oh my God. Like, I don't know why, but all the drunken pictures of me at the model party and Regis Choice suddenly are just like flooding in. Like, I just remember making like a sad face because I had to count something, but like there were just so many of them, like you said. But like,
I remember, I don't know if it was a video. I think it was a part, not a party, weekly dose thing you did. I can't remember exactly, but you were against the weekender wall, and you did something like a
like
some,
I was always making stupid things.
yeah, and some pig noises.
Oh yeah. Like, because I was so nervous. Like, I don't like being on camera. I don't like talking. Like, I'm the worst interviewer. Like, I'm so awkward. Like, I'm so fucking awkward all the time, and just getting on that. But it was fun because Steve like was so good at like keeping me calm and like making me feel comfortable, that it was just like, oh, I'm just doing it for Steve. And like, Steve's gonna laugh at me. Like, I know that that's great. So like there was, yeah. But like, I think like some of my favorite moments might have just been like our nights at Hops. You know what I mean? Just hanging out.
Yep.
Like we were regulars there. Like, I mean, I would go in, like, whenever I would take the bus home, that would be where my mom and I would go when she would pick me up from the bus station, because I'd always take like a late bus home, and they were open, and I would go there, and it would just be like, oh my God, that jukebox. Like, let me put something like, let me put some money in the jukebox for old time's sake. Like, it was just always a good time. And I think like with you, I remember taking like the silver bullet to Knoebels, because we were each other's +1 for like Knoebels.
You know what, Nikki? I might still have the picture of us on my fridge.
No, you don't.
I swear to I had it at my old house. We just moved.
Oh my God.
We moved last year in August. And up until then, it was still on my fridge.
From Knoebels, like in the car. Like, was it the car picture? Like when we were driving the old time cars?
Oh no. It was the picture on the roller coaster.
Oh my God.
Right?
I don't know. Was it, or maybe like, was it the Flume?
Maybe. It was one of those ones that, like, you go on, and it must have been the Flume.
Yeah, because we were like, yeah, I do remember.
Yeah.
And do you remember like when we were leaving and we stopped to get the soda? And there was a kid that looked like Pete Rose. And we were like, oh, can we get like a Diet Coke? And he's like, that don't work. Like, there are some times where like I still would just go like to myself, like, and it just like, oh my God, it makes me laugh. Oh my God. And we like laughed the whole fucking way home from that, because we just like, I was like, he looks like Pete Rose. I don't like him.
Did he say like,
He did. That's where we got it from. Like, he did. And it was just like, he's like, that don't work. And you were like, what? And he's like, that don't work. And it was just this like weird little stand like on the way to the parking lot at Knoebels. And like, oh my God.
That don't work. Oh, I'm trying to think of, like, I can't remember.
There's so many, but it's like, oh my God. I can't
remember them.
Like, just like our stupid, like, I mean, I refuse to talk about any time in a limo because that is just ugly. We like oh God, like the parades. I fucking hated every parade. I hated the parades. Like I loved when we could like hang out at bars on the parade day, but like I hated when we had to march in parades because like I never liked a parade as a kid, ever. Like never. I hate watching them. I hate like going to them. I just hate it. Like I hate the fanfare. And then like we had to go to every goddamn parade, and it was like I hate this.
Not one, but two
Yeah,
on St. Patty's Day.
I'm like throwing out the candy to like kids, and they're just like, "Get me more!" And I'm like, "Get the fuck out of my face."
Brush your teeth.
Yeah, right. Like it's candy. Like, and it wasn't even like good candy.
Oh, man.
But I mean, we did, but we made them fun. Like we did make the parades fun because
that's what we had to.
Right, we had to find some way.
That don't work.
Oh my god, was that like our company picnic or something?
It
might have been. Yeah,
I think it was 2006 or 7.
How do you remember these dates? Like I'm good with dates, but I don't remember that kind of stuff.
Well, I think it was 6 or 7, maybe 7. No, it was 7. 2007. Yeah, it was 07.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the silver bullet.
Bullet.
I had a tooth. No, was it 95? 1995. Was it 95? Infinity. Infinity J30. Looks like a bullet. You're right.
Yeah, it was, and that's what we call it, the silver bullet. You had the silver bullet. I had the bitch basket, and oh my god, remember the end of the bitch basket where like I'd have to park it under the loading docks when it rained because it wouldn't start when like it rained.
Oh Jesus, yeah. It was really funny that you brought the silver bullet, and Coors Light has been a sponsor of mine. Not currently, but for a radio show that I had.
Yeah.
And Coors Light was the silver bullet, so it was like almost like
an omen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh my god,
silver bullet.
That's hilarious. That is so funny. Like, what else do you remember about like just like those days, like those halcyon days of the Weekender? Like, are there stories? Because I mean, obviously, like, you were sales and marketing and stuff, but like, were there stories that like kind of stuck out to you, from the editorial side? And that's okay if there's not, because again, it was like not your realm. Because
it's hard to say. I mean, I guess the answer, unfortunately, is no. Cause here's the thing: like, there were so many once a week, right?
Yeah.
So it was like the ones that stand out are the the model of the year parties,
right? Because they were just like the usual suspects.
Yeah, but like those are like the moments like you looked forward to all year. So it's like model of the year party, St. Patrick's Day parades, and the music issues and things like that. Like it's just like those are like the highlights almost. But I think we also we cover some like hard hitting things. I know that Rachel, we did a thing with domestic violence, which we did that.
Eating disorders, like I know we covered an eating disorder and
phobias.
Oh my god, yes. Yeah, that wasn't a fan.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to, get creative every week with it,
Yeah, and it was hard sometimes, like just to try to like find something to be like, this is the cover, like this is cover worthy, and
yeah,
it was always interesting, kind of like to see what was gonna like stick and what was gonna be good, like what was gonna kind of resonate with people. And, yeah. I did like a lot of, I loved the music. I love doing the music stuff. Like that was just amazing. Like it took me a long time to get used to being a music fan again. Like I couldn't go to a concert for years without being like, I got to type a note on my phone. where's my, oh shit, I forgot my notebook. And I'm like, wait a minute, like you don't have to review the show. And still like, I still kind of like listen with like a critical eye, even though like I enjoy a show, I'm still just like, oh my God, this is how I would explain this moment of the show. Like, it's just like, it totally changed everything, like how I am. Like, I'm just so like, I need to describe this moment because that's what I was so used to doing.
Yeah. I think for me, I mean, just the people play over in my head. Just, it's one of those things. I think you got to create a montage, and that's like kind of what I do a lot. Like,
gotta do a montage.
What? it'd be a more like a sentimental, more music
Yeah.
for me, and I just see
Yeah.
flashes like certain pictures, and there's were you there when Damien was there?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
For I think a little while, like, or maybe like a year, like maybe like my first year he was there.
Well, we were an intern because he left in 2006, like summer of
Okay, yeah. So
'06.
yeah, and I started in January, so maybe just like the first
Yeah,
half.
but I just like these. Just I remember painting the Weekender wall with Damien, and Tiffany, and there's just certain moments I'll never forget.
Yeah.
Just it was just a lot of fun. Some of the best years of my life for sure. I mean, like it was an opportunity to have a job that you got paid to do, but you didn't have to take it too seriously.
Yeah, like, and we had fun doing it. Like, we
Yeah,
were like, it was never like there. I mean, there have been times, there have been jobs since then where like waking up in the morning was really hard, knowing I had to go to this job that like I didn't fit in with, or,
yeah,
whatever. But like the nature of it was like I needed a job. Like I needed, like it was just going to work every day. It was just was so fun because like you kind of were like, we were the masters of our own domain, really, like, because we kind of like, I was able to make what I wanted to do. Like I kind of had the freedom to do what I wanted to do, even though I had an editor above me who, would make the final decision. It was always like, yeah, like let's do this, or let's do it this way, or it was this collaboration. Like it was just a
yeah,
collaboration effort.
yeah. And they kind of empowered you to do you know your own
Yeah.
thing, and
Yeah.
that's one thing I think I'm kind of spoiled with that job, was because like I feel like our leadership always trusted us to do
Mhm.
the right thing, and like they never had to worry. Like they kind of like let us do what we needed to do because they knew that we were responsible enough most of the time to do the job the right way. Like, and I hands down, I mean that was my first job out of college, right?
Yeah.
So any kind of micromanaging that I've ever had since then was like, whoa, like you gotta fucking calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
especially like, and I get the pandemic came, and but like it got to the point where the boss that I had at the time, he was like, we're gonna we weekly or daily Zoom meetings, and then after the Zoom meeting, we're gonna have one-on-ones, and you're gonna tell me who
Ooh.
you're calling, what are you like, who you pitching, like what. First of all, I'm like, we're in a fucking pandemic. Like, I don't know who I'm gonna fucking call. Like,
Yeah. Right.
I'm spending
Yeah.
most of my days canceling orders that were placed for the year because we're in a fucking pandemic.
Right. Exactly.
But I got to a point where I was thinking to myself, like, and I almost said this. I was gonna be like, if you can't trust me to do what I need to do, then maybe I'm not your guy.
Right. Yeah.
It just it. But like, the weekender, like, I just kind of gave us that freedom to, because I just feel like we did what we needed to do, and if we didn't do it, which was very rare, like they would be like, hey, make sure you do this from
Yeah.
now on, or don't do this again.
Yeah. It was a good first job. It
It was
definitely was
great.
a good, like a gentle first job.
Yeah, I mean, I
For in some
definitely,
for some people, and for and in some regards it was too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely, if I did some of the things I did there, I would probably would have been fired elsewhere.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
but I also knew that I kind of had that, not that leeway, but like the,
Wait. Yeah. There was like a little bit of wiggle. You could wiggle.
yeah, like
Yeah.
let's see how far I can push it.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a little too far. Okay, let's not. We won't do that again. Like
Yeah. Yeah. No,
but
there was definitely like it was definitely a really good, and without, I don't think I'd be where I am. I don't think I'd be, as good in my at my job as I am, because it really, I'm driven, and like maybe that's something, that's something that was instilled with me from my parents. My parents were very hardworking. They were restaurant owners. They were, very, very hardworking people. So I came from that, and and my whole family was involved in the restaurant industry, and I wasn't. Like, and so like the closest I ever came to being involved in the restaurant business was when I started doing food reviews. Um, and they kind of still, like, to a point are like, oh, you just sit on your ass all day. And it was like, yeah, I wish that's all I did was sit on my ass like all
yeah,
day. Like, where are you at 3 a.m. when I'm thinking about the lead of my story, and I'm thinking about like, oh my God, I had an error in a story that that like was printed in the paper. Like, it was a non-stop job, because especially for me, just because I take everything so personally. Like if I'm writing even if it's a 250 word story, like I'm giving that my all,
Right.
you know. And like now, like my mind is a little, I mean, not like with the pandemic and my parents and all that stuff, like my mind is a little more at ease because of the position I'm in now, where I'm not doing as much writing. I mean, I only write when I really, really want to, which isn't that often because of just time constraints. And I just don't like, I just like what I do. I like to edit. And I just like, back then it was just like, I was invested in 5 different stories. There were 2 of us on the editorial team, you know? So it was like, I wrote 5 stories a week. That's a lot.
Right.
And that definitely prepared me later in life for, you know, now everything's about content. And, you know, it's like everything is content and manja, like you got to have all this content. So, you know, there were times where at Metro, like I'd have to write 5 stories a day, which was huge, you know, where like at the Weekender, I had a week to kind of let these things matriculate and kind of come out. And like I'd write a story fast and then I'd take my time with the cover story or something. But like here, it was like, being the one of 2 people of the editorial team really helped me get with that. Like you have to do X amount of stories a day, like, which is a whole different, you know, animal.
Yeah.
So, you know, putting all that pressure on myself definitely helped me keep my work ethic over the years.
It's good.
Yeah. Party.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
You made it to New York City.
I did. And I do love it. I do.
Good.
I fit here. I don't know. It's just, you know, it's a good place to be.
I always love it when people kind of get to where they want to be.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I'm at the point where, and I say this a lot, like I find happiness in other people's happiness.
That's a very nice way to put things.
Yeah. I just, you know, I was in a lot of weddings, so like, you know, seeing those people in those moments very, very happy, like it would make me cry just because like
Yeah.
I'm just so happy, and I'm a very emotional person.
I am too. Like I totally, like I am too. Yeah.
But so I'm one of the great things about doing this is kind of seeing where people are today and seeing them happy and doing well. And so I mean, I'm happy for you. Please tell Tom that I said hello.
I will. Thank you so much. He says hi back, I'm sure.
I'm sure. I would hope so.
Yes. And the dog, I'm sorry that the dog doesn't appear. He is very camera shy, even though I shove it in his face all day long. He does not like being on camera. He is just laying outside the door of the room and he's just like, I'm not coming in if the camera's on.
Well, he just wants to be balls deep in snow right now. So
yeah, exactly. And it's probably time for him to go do that. That's that's
balls
on Tom tonight.
in snow.
Balls deep. He's going to go rage in the snow.
Rage.
That was a Popkoism back in the day.
Yeah. And then DJ Hirsch didn't understand what that meant. Like the rage. You got rage, bro.
Damn you, DJ Hirsch. You just didn't get it.
He's not that smart.
Oh my God. Shut up. DJ Hirsch, we love you.
She's lying, Hirsch. You probably won't even watch this, so fuck you.
Oh my God. But no, I mean, like the Weekender was awesome. And I remember like it made me so cool. It made me such a cool stepmom when I got to take my stepson to our party deck at Montage. And like that was like that really solidified that like I'm the coolest person in the world when I got to be like, you could stand on stage with us. And like, and I think he helped with like sound or something, like he helped do something. And he was just like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing. There's like 3,000 people standing outside of our deck. So yeah, it was awesome. Well, I'm very happy for you too, Johnny. Like,
thank you.
And you and Amanda, like, oh my goodness, that's awesome.
Yeah, she's the best. We have a little boy, and he's awesome. I just posted a video. Oh man, it was last night, and he's at the age now where he doesn't want to sit during dinner. So you know, it's like, okay, it's dinner time, and he's fucking around.
He's just fucking around.
He's just fucking around. Like he's out of his seat. He's fucking like over here doing this, and it's like, yo, dude, sit the fuck down and eat. And I had my jackets. I had 2 jackets hanging over the back of a chair. They're chairs. And he gets all like bent out of shape when this is like, when they're on the back of the chairs. So it's like it's dinner time, and he's walking around, fucking around, and I said, you got to sit down and eat because you got to put your jackets away. Hold on, I'm gonna screw it up because it's just it's he I oh my god, it's an absolute riot, absolute riot.
They don't get any less smart assy the older they get, I assure you. So, spoiler.
First of all, you don't talk to me like that. You need to put your jackets away. I'm not going to ask you again. So I'm staring at him, right? Like I'm like, I'm dying inside. Like I'm like, holy shit, this kid is talking to me like a legit human. He sounds like my wife, basically.
I hope Amanda doesn't listen to this. I might tell her to.
She doesn't, which I'm okay with. She's the one who took the video. I mean, like,
I'm like, we're talking shit all about you, Amanda.
And actually, when she heard this back, she's like, "That's exactly how I sound." Because if he like talks back, she'll be like, first of all, we don't talk to like daddy like that or whatever. So that's he's like,
first of all,
he's learning it.
Oh my god,
it's hilarious. He's a riot.
Oh my god, yeah. My stepkids are 21 and one will be 25. So one's going to be 22 and one's going to be 25. And I've known them since they were 10 and 13. And it has been such an interesting situation. Like teenagers. I got the teenagers that I definitely deserved as the teenager that I was. And anytime like I'd be like, "Oh my god, mom," she would be like, "Mm-hmm."
Yep.
Talk like,
so like, yeah, right.
I didn't have anybody to talk to about when you were doing that.
That don't work.
Oh my god. Well, you let me know when your kid says, "I'm the son of Johnny Weekender. I do what I want."
You know, it sucks. Like, so I feel like I've done all these cool things. Hopefully, like I'll continue doing cool things. But my last day at the radio stations was today. This is recording is Monday, February 1st. My last day was Friday the 29th. And I always knew that like that point of my life would end by the time he like understood what I did.
Right.
But yeah, so that ended. I took a new job that I start on Wednesday.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you gonna spill the beans or is it a secret?
No, I Axelrad screen printing.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I'm excited.
That's great. Good for you. Good.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Like, you know, it won't be media, which it scares me because it's not media and it's all I've known for 17 years, but it's going to be awesome.
And you've worked with them. I mean, I remember you working with them when I was still at the paper. So like, it's. And like, it's always good to dip your toes somewhere else and kind of try something else. And media, you're still going to be in media because you're doing a podcast.
I'm doing this, right? So yeah, so hopefully I can continue doing this and be relevant, and my kid one day can say, "Oh yeah, my dad's this or that, whatever." But
yeah, and who knows? Because in 5 years you could be doing something even more.
Who knows?
Bigger, you know. So
who knows? Yeah,
one foot at a time, bud.
I wish like. Because like you said, like, you know, we're backstage and we're side stage and we're on the party decks and we're doing this and we're doing that, and it's cool. It's a cool, you know, whether it's a sibling you're kind of introducing that life to, or you know, stepdaughter, stepson, or your own son. Like it's a cool experience to give them, but it's cool to kind of see them see you in that kind of like light.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely was like, this is cool. And like, I mean, they got into like Tiger's Jaw. Like they both love Tiger's Jaw and like the Menzingers and stuff like that. And it was just like, oh my God, like I introduced these kids to these bands that they still listen to. And it's like, oh my gosh, like that was really, really cool. Cause it was really important to be able to connect with them on something. And like, we would just listen to this music in the car. And it was like, you know, like now they're their own little human adults, which is so weird.
Yeah, no kidding. Jesus.
Crazy.
Well, thanks for doing this. Yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Hopefully
It's
I
been a
can
long time.
piece together this audio and video. Well, not me. I have a good
I
friend of
got a
mine,
guy.
Justin from IOT Development, who helps me out with this stuff. But
Nice.
yeah, I had some technical difficulties. My computer froze, so
It happens. It happens. It's a
it never
snowy
happened
tundra.
before. My first
It's
time.
me. It's me. That's why. It's the first time we've talked in 9 years. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't it be
Exactly.
awkward and weird?
Well, Nikki, like I said, I'm so happy that you're happy. I'm so happy for you and Tom. I'm happy for you and your career.
Thank you.
And hopefully it's not another 9 years before we talk.
No, it won't be. I think the floodgates are open and we're going to have to, that don't work a lot more. And I'm really happy for you too, Johnny. I'm really happy with you, for you and Amanda and Le Bebe.
Thank you.
Have a great night, bud.
You too.
Enjoy shoveling.
Oh, yeah. I can't wait. Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah.